Hi team, Melissa here. Time to discuss something important and that we don't often talk about because movement when you have ME, CFS or fibromyalgia has been taken away from us in a way, in a sense. The terrible PACE trials that caused a lot of harm, where graded exercise therapy was recommended, and essentially the idea that you push through even if you don't feel well is a terrible approach that is like anti anything that anyone knows anything about ME/CFS would recommend. But the thing is that movement helps. Our bodies are made to move, but we have to move in a way that works for us, because you're only going to make it worse if you're not doing things that work for your body right now. Like if you're in a boom bust cycle, as I continually find myself, then you are not doing any favors. So on the fibromyalgia side, if you're pushing yourself too hard, then you're going to cause more pain and more nervous system activity, which is going to wind everything up and increase every symptom. On the ME/CFS side, well, you're just increasing post-exertion malaise and the fatigue, and it just becomes harder and harder to climb out of the hole. Obviously, that's more of the mild ME/CFS. If you're moderate, you have to be even more careful again, and it's just a whole other ball game to manage. And people with severe ME/CFS, it's a joke. You can't talk about exercise or movement when you're that unwell, and when kind of, I guess, going to the bathroom is like a giant workout. So there's a whole lot of things going on, but for me as well, I've got to add in the hypermobility. I have some hypermobile joints, and particularly my sacroiliac joints, and they go out of place, like not fully dislocated but out of place, and every single week I'm going to the chiropractor to get them put in. For some reason it got just way worse after my fourth pregnancy. So I had pelvis instability in all four pregnancies, but after my fourth, despite that pregnancy not being so bad, afterwards was terrible, because here in New Zealand you get access to a specialist physio at the hospital to help you manage the pelvis, and she would put my SI joint back in for me every time. But then once you're 6 weeks postpartum, you don't have access to that anymore, and you are lucky if you can find a person who has any sense of it. And so after having Everett, my fourth, the endometriosis was just out of this world bad. So the pelvis problems were just in, a back seat as everything else was. But after my operation last year, something must have gone wrong. I tried to warn them before the operation, hey, when I'm unconscious, you're gonna have to be really careful, but things happen, and I was in more pain from my pelvis and sacroiliac joints than anything else after the operation. And it took something like 4 months until I started seeing my chiropractor to realize that I was literally walking around on SI joints that were quite out of place. And unfortunately, it's not stopping, like it just keeps going out of place. But the thing is that I have to keep moving and doing life, and I don't know exactly what's going to put it out. That's just the luck of the draw. And exercise and movement is a way to strengthen the muscles and the joints. But then if there is hypermobility involved, that's like a whole other factor. So I've got a lot of moving targets and boundaries and things. And so on the one hand, I want to say, if that's the same for you, I'm here too. You are not alone. You are not the only one. If you have had a doctor say, try this YouTube channel, and you look at the YouTube channel and none of the workouts are safe for you, I get it. I actually have literally been there. The last time I went to the doctor, someone she recommended a YouTube channel, and I looked at a lot of the videos and went, I don't think you understand. So it's a minefield out there, and it's really hard whether or not you can find a physical therapist, physiotherapist who understands your conditions. That's Russian roulette as well. But for me, when you've got the fibromyalgia and you've got the hypermobile joints going out of place and the ME/CFS, it's just a whole other ball game, and you're kind of on your own. But I've been working on trying to build my strength, because I would really like to be strong, and I've been very careful. So in the last few months, I went from a 5-minute, very gentle strengthening kind of series I made myself, with micro squats. I started with 5 micro squats. I've talked about this before and I'll keep saying it. I start with 5 micro squats, and then some leg lifts where you just kind of raise up on your toes and go down again slowly, and then cat and cow pose with some Superman balances and pelvic floor work, because I had a hysterectomy and endometriosis excision surgery last year, and I've had 4 children, so pelvic floor exercises are like the staple of things to do. And I have slowly built my way up, so that 5 minute, and it has very, very slowly, and there was a bit of a lag in the middle. We had the hottest summer on record, and so my heat intolerance was just, it made the POTS. Heart rate issues, whatever that is, which we haven't figured out yet, out of control. So that kind of put me back a little bit, but I got to about 10 minutes, but I kept snagging. I keep like putting my own stuff out, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And last Tuesday, I did the same routine as usual. It was a little cold, like a lot colder than usual, but nothing crazy. Didn't do anything bad. Didn't like put my hips too far apart, and I somehow put my SI joints out really badly, like so badly. I was in so much pain. I could hardly stand upright or walk, and I had to go take an urgent chiropractor appointment that afternoon, and it took a lot of little adjustments for her to get things right. And then 2 days later I had to go again to keep going, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to figure this out. So I put a post in a group, and the Muldowny protocol. And so it's this physical therapist person who has created a protocol specifically for people with hypermobile EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which we are not sure if I have that or not. A lot of people with fibromyalgia are misdiagnosed and do have that. When I saw the rheumatologist, he said he wasn't impressed by my level of flexibility, even though I explained that this has been years and my muscles are very tight, and you know, they have kind of molded around these joints. And he said, I don't have a first degree relative, so that's it. He was done with that. However, my chiropractor says I am hypermobile, and that's just the way it is. However, all of that aside, the first thing he recommends for any hypermobility is to stabilize the SI joint, the sacroiliac joint, so in your pelvis and your hips. And he says that basically that guides like the whole spine. And so, and my chiropractor said the same thing, like sometimes the pain I'm feeling in my neck and my upper region is actually from my pelvis and my spine. So I've actually started, side note, I've actually started putting, I have this wonderful spray. It's like non-medicated kind of menthol-y spray. And I put it on my pelvis and my neck, even if my pelvis isn't specifically hurting enough to like raise alarm bells yet, because I'm trying to hit both. But anyway, the basic is the SI joint. So he says you start with stabilizing the SI joint. And I was like, well, great, that's what I need to do. So I had a look at his protocol, and stage 1 is those little things like gentle bridges and like gentle marching. So you lie supine and you lift 1 foot, just like 1 inch off the ground, and you do it 1 at a time. And it's essentially like supine swimming, but with just your legs. So you lift 1 at a time. Just 1 inch off the ground, or your bed. I have to do it on my bed because I cannot go flat on a floor. My back will not go on a floor. My pelvis will not have it. I can barely sit in seats sometimes. And some leg squeezes. So you put like they say a football, but I have like a foam roller, and you put it between your knees, and you squeeze for 5, let go for 1, squeeze, let go. And what they call lying clams. And so you have some kind of elastic band around your legs, and you put outward pressure for 5 seconds, not too far apart obviously, and then release, and then outward pressure and release. And that's it. You do that. You start at, I think it's 1 minute, and then you add 10 seconds each day if you're managing that. And when you can do 3 minutes for each of the exercises, then you move up to the next level. And I heard from the person who told me about it that she herself has moderate to severe ME. So she's at level 0.5. There's a level before 1 for people who need it. And but she said there's a group for people with EDS, and they've gotten up to the 2nd level. However, if you work through the whole program, they say it can take 6 to 12 months. I haven't looked far enough ahead to see like how far away it is, because I started at 1.5 minutes and that was tiring, but I did it and I felt really strong and stable the rest of the day. It was just yesterday. And I was like, my muscles were fatigued in the afternoon, but I wasn't in a heap of pain. So I'm taking that as a good thing. So I did it again today and added my 10 seconds. So I did 1 minute, 40 seconds per exercise of the 5 exercises. So we're talking like 8.5 minutes. And it's feeling good. So I'm very excited about it and I can update about that. But I also found myself really disappointed because it feels very far backwards, right? To go back to supine and to do those very gentle, like it's almost like internal movements, or just you almost can't see what you're doing. You know, it's 1 inch and then putting it down, you know, or moving it just beyond hip width and back, you know. So it feels like teeny tiny steps, and it feels like going backwards because I was trying to do squats and I was really looking forward to building in some weights. And that's something that doesn't change. I don't think that will go away. I have big goals and big dreams, but I'm also smart. I have learnt now to be smarter about it, and I've got to play the long game. And you know what? I could get another bad virus in the next few weeks and that could take me backwards again. So be it. This is what happens. At least I know I'm not going to have any more children, and I'm hoping, knock on all the wood, throw the salt over your shoulder, that I don't need any more major operations. But that is a real thing. Like, that is how complex the conversation around movement and exercise with fibromyalgia, ME/CFS, and hypermobility syndromes and all of that is. Like, it is that complex. It is not as simple as just try some exercise, which, you know, it happens. A lot of us get that. And so I want to keep sharing because I want you to know you're not alone if you're there, but I want everyone to be really clear about this. Like, it sounds so simple and easy, but it's not, right? Because the first recommendation people might say is, okay, take a 30-minute walk. And then we'll be like, WTF? Can't do that. You know, that would be killer. Like, it is not just as simple as pushing to that. And you've got to think about the goals. And that's something I've been talking about for a long time. You need to know the goal. My goal is to get strong. And you can't take the big muscles for a ride without taking the little muscles for a ride, right? You need to take them all, and you need to start at the beginning, and you need to have those building blocks. So that's just a little bit about where I'm at with that. I hope that that helps. Let me know, are you in the same situation? Have you found the same thing about kind of baby steps and coming back to the beginning? Have you tried the Muldowny protocol if you have hypermobility issues? And if you want me to update on how that's going, let me know as well, and I'll catch you again soon.